Yo, what is going on? We just had an awesome Thursday night football game last night. One of my favorite games of the year. It was fun as hell to watch. Jackson Dart coming out party, Cam Scatabo coming out party. They come out, they beat their division rival in the Eagles. I believe they were 6.5 or 7.5 point underdogs. I was heavily debating betting on the Giants, but I stayed away. I was a little scared. That's on me. Should have made some free money last night, but that was a miss. But I just want to come out here and say, if I was a Giants fan, I would be writing a love letter to Jackson Dart as we speak. I mean, I think that just kept the coaching staff around. I think that win, excuse me, damn. I think that win right there probably kept Brian Daboll's job. Whatever happens for the rest of the season, I think that right there kept Brian Daboll's job. And Brian Daboll's a damn good coach. So if I was a Giants fan, I'd be happy. I mean, this is the first signature win of Jackson Dart's career. It was awesome. It was sick. The Giants team has a ton of energy about it. I can do nothing but be jealous of the New York Giants and love the New York Giants, to be honest with you. I was already a huge fan of Dexter Lawrence. I love the sexy Dexy. I love Cam Scatabo. I'm coming to like Jackson Dart quite a bit. I'm not going to lie. He's just a cool dude. He's just cool as hell. Malik Neighbors, if he was here, this team would be peak. This team would be so much fun to watch. They already are so much fun to watch. Scatabo puts his head down and just gets shit done. Love that. I just traded him in fantasy, unfortunately, but got to do what you got to do. I love rooting for that guy. I liked watching him in college. He was fun as hell at ASU. I mean, shout out the Giants, man. Just shout out to the Giants. I was so impressed in this game. Malik Neighbors being out. You have your division rival who just won the Super Bowl last year. And you just take him out and give him a spanking. You just beat the shit out of him. Didn't they have double their points? I think it was 17-34 final score. They were in victory formation with 2 minutes left against the Eagles. Could you ask for anything better if you were a Giants fan? Jackson Dart, legacy game. Let me pull up his stats just to be sure. But in the meantime, I mean, I was taking notes during the game. Malik Neighbors is out. They're just beating Philly's ass on the ground. And Jackson Dart is throwing just ropes to Wan'Dale Robinson and all these random dudes. And then what's his name? Jalen Hurts throws a pick to Cordale Flott, I think. Terrible pick from Jalen Hurts. Jackson Dart looked so well put together in the pocket. Not a ton of pressure on him that game, but when there was pressure, he was doing a good job just staying calm in the pocket, standing tall, delivering strikes, dude. I mean, I'm very impressed. I knew that the kid was super confident. That's one of my things that I really loved about him was that he was confident, borderlining on cocky. Seems like a really fun dude. But what I like to see is when instead of that manifests in being reckless and doing dumb shit, when that manifests in a dude who stands tall in the pocket, has a good presence, knows when to get out, and knows when to get rid of the ball. Jackson Dart could get rid of the ball a little bit earlier here and there, but that's fine. If I'm the Eagles, I'm Kevin Patullo. You're on the hot seat already. It would be, I would be campaigning for this guy to be fired if I was an Eagles fan immediately. That dude needs to be deemed a foreign terror organization. I don't know what the hell he has going on. That offense is horribly unbalanced. There's every game they either just run the ball the whole time or they pass the ball the whole time. There's no balance. I feel like Kevin Patullo's like watching fucking First Things First like I am. Like, well, they need to throw the ball more. And then the next game, all they do is throw the ball. I don't know. It's weird. I don't like it. And they have no versatility in their game plan. And I think that without the tush push, this team would be in serious trouble. Jackson Dart got absolutely blasted trying to get out of the pocket in this game. That would worry me a little bit. Went into the tent. Brian Daboll followed him into the tent, and then the Giants made some tweet afterwards about how that's unprofessional, and they don't want people to think that he was pressuring them to get him back in the game. Well, it kind of made me sad, just a little bit. I'm not a Russell Wilson fan, but what kind of made me sad was Russell Wilson came in the game. It was funny as hell, but threw an atrocious pass, and I'm like laughing. I'm like, ah, and then the home crowd is booing him. I hate that that felt kind of shitty from Giants fans. Not gonna lie. I don't know. I mean, I guess you're paying him a bunch of money, so I get it, but not a fan of that. I don't like. He's old, man. You know what I mean? What do you expect? He's old. He's like 36, some shit like that. It's just like, you know. But Jackson Dart, man, I mean, the dude already looks like a consummate professional. I love watching the Giants team play football. They come out, they beat the Eagles. A matter of fact, no, they don't beat the Eagles. They kick the shit out of the Eagles. They give the Eagles the business. Jalen Hurts throws a really bad pick. Jalen Hurts had like 3 hours in the pocket every game or every possession. Okay, let me stop lying. He didn't have 3 hours in the pocket, but there was a lot of plays where he had like 7 seconds in the pocket and just pretty much did nothing with it. Now, that's also on the receivers to go get open, and also it's a shout-out to the Giants' defense and coverage, which I did not think they were going to be that great at. But the Giants' D-line did get home a couple times. Brian Burns clearly having an awesome season. I think he has like 7 or 8 sacks, and we're only like 5 games into the year. I mean, he's having well, for them now 6. He's having a hell of a season. Brian Burns is on a heater. But it was just like, you got all this time. We're not getting a ton of like huge passing gains. I just thought that it was kind of a disappointment. If I was an Eagles fan, I'd be like, man, we had good protection for the most part. We're 4-1, and then you lose back-to-back games. Jalen Hurts throws for 283 with a touchdown and a pick. Saquon had 12 carries for 58 yards. It would make me sick. If I'm a Giants fan, I'm sick. Saquon had 58 yards. 58 yards. This should have been his breakout game. He averaged 4.8 per carry. Jackson Dart threw for 200 and a touchdown. Don't get me wrong, he didn't exactly light the world on fire. But what he did was he come in and he played well at quarterback against a great defense and won a game against the Super Bowl champs last year as a rookie. As a rookie. This dude deserves the praise that he's getting. He deserved being drafted in the first round. I'm coming to really like Jackson Dart. He looks dope. He's playing well. He's kind of giving me like a skinny Baker Mayfield vibe. You know how Baker there's something about him. He just gets the team fired up. That feels like Jackson Dart. Him and Cam Scatabo, who looks like the reincarnation of Brandon Jacobs. Giants fans, if you know ball, if you know. Brandon Jacobs, not like he's some sleeper, but Brandon Jacobs, dog. Cam Scatabo is looking like that dude. 19 for 98, averaged 5.2 per carry. He had 3 touchdowns. Dude basically had 100 yards on the ground, with his longest rush only being 18 yards. Jackson Dart was getting busy on the feet too. 13 carries for 58 yards. And then receiving-wise, Wan'Dale Robinson catches a tutty. Cam Scatabo has 2 receptions for 12 yards, so he has a little bit over 100 scrimmage yards total. I mean, what a game. Brian Burns gets 2 sacks, 2 TFLs. I mean, Cordell Flott, I was right. I had to make sure. Cordell Flott had a pick and a 68-yard return, apparently. Had himself a hell of a game. I mean, yeah, like I said, if I was a Giants fan, I would have a Jackson Dart jersey right now. If I was a Giants fan, I would be writing a love letter to Jackson Dart. Also, random thought that I thought was funny. I saw this on TikTok and then watched the game after. This guy, Mike Golick, on TikTok made a joke about if offensive linemen celebrated the way DBs do when something like say a DB gets burned over the top and then the QB overthrows it and they're like, you know what I mean? Like DBs do that shit all the time where you get beat but he drops it and then there's some DB just like celebrating down the field for no reason. He's hella hyped that the receiver dropped the ball. I think that's so funny, and I think the idea of an offensive lineman doing that would be so funny. Like, imagine if tonight Landon Dickerson just missed a block and fucking Brian Burns comes flying up the middle. He's on the ground. Brian Burns comes flying up the middle. Jalen Hurts gets it off in time for a touchdown, and Landon Dickerson gets up and he's like, what if? I think that's such a hilarious idea. Like Landon Dickerson gets up and he's like, for the first down, like he's just having the time of his life after getting absolutely blasted. That said, we can move on from that. That's just a stupid little thought that I saw and I thought it was hilarious. Right now, if I was voting for Coach of the Year, does Brian Daboll get in that spot? I'll give you guys my ballots right now. My Coach of the Year ballot, my number one easiest vote right now by far, Kyle Shanahan. I would have Kyle Shanahan as my favorite for Coach of the Year. I love the way that he's operating the team. I think that the Niners are somehow just pulling games out of their ass. Mac Jones looks like Brock Purdy. Shocker. They're the same guy pretty much. It's going to piss off a lot of Niner fans, but, can't wait for Mac Jones to be my quarterback next year. But Coach of the Year right now, I'd have Kyle Shanahan easily running away with it. Close second. I can't say easily running away with it and say close second, but Shane Steichen deserves some love for Coach of the Year. I would still lean towards Shanahan because he's been so injury prone and they've had such a good record. And they've gotten some big wins. Shane Steichen, I would put him in there. And then Dan Campbell, Todd Bowles. Dan Campbell and the Lions still look awesome. We'll see if they can come in and beat the Chiefs this week. They beat the Chiefs this week. They're getting kind of scary. Todd Bowles, obviously, coaching up that defense down there in Tampa Bay. They're having a hell of a season. And then it's like Sean McVay. Do you put Brian Daboll? I mean, with Jackson Dart, they look decent. They lost to the Saints, so that's gross. But when you have a rookie quarterback, you're going to lose some shitty games here and there. You never know. My MVP ballot right now, I would have Baker Mayfield would be my MVP as of this moment. He's having himself a year. And I love Baker Mayfield, and I'm biased. Also, told you guys preseason, Baker Mayfield could win MVP this year. You guys should maybe bet some money on that. Nobody listened to me. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't win it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm an idiot. But right now, that looks pretty good. I would put Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford has had an awesome year. The stats aren't going to tell everything. Obviously, he's looked good statistically as well, but he's played better than the numbers. Justin Herbert, just honestly, based on the first two games of the year, they're so injury prone right now. I can't really act like I expect him to do anything crazy, but he would still stay there. There's nobody really like running away with it right now because there's no Lamar. Josh Allen's not having an insane statistical season. I think you have to put Daniel Jones in there. Nasty as it is, he's having himself a hell of a season. The Colts are winning football games, which is gross. Dak? I mean, I will say, I watched the games. Dak has been playing better than the stats say. I think Dak was really good in that Eagles game. I know that people will say he was decent. I think he was good in that Eagles game. And I also think that Dak was probably one of the best games of his entire professional career was that game against the Packers. I know it was a tie. I know that you expect better, but it is the Packers. And he looked bad in the Bears game. I mean, he looked awesome in the Giants game. So I don't see why not. I think that Dak had one of the best games of his career against the Packers, an awesome game against the Giants, man against the Bears. I think he was pretty good against the Eagles. I think I would put Dak in the 5th spot. And then, I mean, you've got guys fighting after that, like Josh Allen, obviously. And then there's a conversation we had, like, do you put Myles Garrett on this list? Do you put Nick Bonito on this list? Do you put Puka Nacua on this list? I think Puka Nacua could deserve some level of MVP consideration right now through 5 weeks. I don't see why not. Why not Puka? I think he's been having himself a hell of a season. And for Offensive Player of the Year, why not Emeka Egbuka? I'm not going to give you my full damn. I'm not going to give you my full ballot on that, but why not Emeka Egbuka for Offensive Player of the Year? Right now, I think I'd give it to Puka, but Puka deserves both MVP and Offensive Player of the Year talks. Just saying, he's having himself a hell of a year. Also, I've been seeing a lot of talk about how the Chiefs should trade for a running back. I think the Chiefs should trade for a defensive player. I think the Chiefs could use an edge rusher or a corner right now. Their linebacking core is fantastic. I would not do anything to change that. Nick Bonito, Drew Tranquill, and Chenal are fantastic linebackers. They're also fantastic at Madden. That's a hell of a linebacking core. But Chris Jones' effort on that last play, by the way, against the Jags was really nasty looking. I don't know if anybody paid attention to that. That was really disappointing. So they probably could use an edge. I think Chris Jones is finally aging out of being like an all-time great defensive player. I think that a lot of people are like, they should trade for Alvin Kamara. They should trade for Breece Hall. They should do this. I think that they should be looking at trading for an edge I think they could have benefited from getting Odafe Owe from the Ravens, but they traded him to the Chargers, or even getting a DB. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't go after a defensive back here. I think that their secondary has looked disappointing at best. So I would just say for those conversations, I feel like the Chiefs can. You have a good receiving core. You can float by with Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. Andy Reid doesn't love to run the ball anyway. Kamara is the only one where I'm like, okay, that'd be a really good fit because he's so awesome in the pass game. But for the most part, if I was the Chiefs, I would focus on trading for defensive players. I don't get why you would do really anything else but that. If I was the Chiefs, I'd be throwing offers at Max Crosby. We'd never make it, but I would be throwing offers at Max Crosby. I really hope we don't trade Max Crosby. If we do, if Max Crosby does get traded, which I really, really hope he doesn't, I really hope that we can turn this around these next couple weeks and stop that momentum from growing. I would be not shocked if the New England Patriots tried to make a move for Max Crosby. You'd have to make a hell of a trade offer, but I don't see why they wouldn't do that. They could use some help on the defensive side, on the edge specifically. And Max Crosby to the Patriots would probably make that team a Super Bowl contender. I don't even want to talk about that, though, because that's going to make me sick. So we'll stop with that. But that's pretty much everything I got for today, man. What a game from Jackson Dart. What a performance from the Giants. The Eagles might be headed towards another one of those weird, funky seasons where you just didn't get the OC right and shit starts to get weird. You're having players-only meetings in like week 3. I really don't like the vibes from the Eagles. I feel like when they win games, the vibes are still off, and then they lose games, and the vibes are even worse. I could see a Chris Broussard labeled supernatural funk on the way for the Philadelphia Eagles. If I was a Philly fan, I'd be getting kind of nervous.